Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back to the eastern wing of the Stinkbug Works. Before I get into today's discussion, I have a couple little housekeeping items. My first order of duty in the morning is when I get up, I watch Big B's video, and Big B's out pushing it again to the limits, and he's doing extremely well. But I noted one thing. He is getting his money's worth out of that kayak. That kayak was probably one of the best investments he ever made. I remember he would flip boats in the old days and have to send his rescue boats out there, and they're so darn far away, they're hard to see. And then he got a FPV video thing that he could put on his tugboat, but then somebody threw it overboard, and it was just a long story, and he never replaced it. But that kayak was really a good call. Good call on the kayak. Second article I need to address is I have a viewer, and for the sake of this discussion, I'll just call him Ron, and where he asks the musical question, do Ron run? Anyway, Ron asked me if I could modify his Miss Seattle. As you know, I just finished up a Miss Seattle. And as I went through the boat and did it, there are a number of things that, as you get along in the process, you say, oh, earlier I should have done that. And so there was a lot of, that happens with every new project, With me, everything's a new project. Anyhow, he asked me if I could modify his Miss Seattle. He has one, and I guess it hasn't run in a while. And while I would like to do that, the whole purpose of my videos, and in fact, I really consider myself a follow-on to Big B, and I've always said Big B gives you the meat and potatoes. He shows you. He's in there with the nut driver, driving the nuts and putting the Loctite on them and telling you just how tight he's doing them. I don't do that. There's no sense both of us doing it, It's the same thing. Oh, he might use a different epoxy and I might use a different tool, but in the end, we both do the same stuff. It's the same stuff. What I try to do is give you different ideas. Where Big B gives you techniques, I try to give you ideas. So I'm sort of the salsa and guacamole. He's the meat and potatoes. So regarding that Miss Seattle, I'd love to work on it, but what I would really like is for you to work on it using the experience you've gained from watching Big B and I talk about these things. And here's what I would do if I was Ron. I would form a plan on what to do with the boat and then send it to me. And I'll look at the plan and go, oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. You might want to wait on that one. That's a good idea. And then, help him out that way. Plus, if there's any special machining or anything like that, I'll do that for you. I mean, it costs so much to ship a big boat, a big box, that it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. So, to Ron, yes, I will help you rebuild your Miss Seattle, and if you need any special machining or any specialty stuff, we'll talk about it and we'll get you fixed up. So that's the two laundry items I had to address. Now to the meat of the subject. Stand by. I have completed the front face of my gear drive. And I'm setting it in here. And remember, this has to fit under here. So without doing a whole lot of measuring, let's see. That gear may fit under there. But remember, in the design, I left the bottom extra long just so that I could remove material. Now, here's how I'm going to work at this. I'm going to put this in here, and I see that the motor has quite a bit of, and I'm going to raise this up a little bit here. The motor has quite a bit of clearance at the rear end here when this is down on the deck. So if I cut this, if I cut this bottom, leaving this corner right where it is, and if I cut this bottom at a slight angle like that, it will bring the motor lower and won't appreciably lower the gear. It will a little bit, but, it won't do it very much. So that'll be the first thing. I'm going to work on that angle. And then, depending on where this falls in the hull, and quite frankly, I want it to be, as far forward as I can get it, because it's going to, I don't know. I have batteries in it now. I'm going to have to, I guess I'm going to have to get my gear out. I have the rudder and all that stuff made so I can get it to balance and see where this shaft, exits the hull and hangs onto the strut here. So now we're going to get to weighing and measuring. Today's going to be a day of weighing and measuring and balancing and adding tape. And I'll put a piece of tape there, and then I'll measure and put a piece of tape there to counteract that piece of tape. Oh, it's going to be fun. Anyway, I thought you'd like to see my little gearbox. It spins real nicely. Now, I ran into a problem. With a 3mm shaft, which is what this motor is. The largest gear I can get in this pitch is 20 teeth. Then it jumps up to 34 teeth in this style, the plastic gear with the hub. So, because my clearances between the cooling fins and this tube are real close, I may come in here with a grinder and grind out just that little area of tube so the motor can sit in there even closer so I can get more range of gearing. I wanted to gear it about 2.5 to 1, but it's looking like my room, I can go with a 20 and, if I went with a 20 and a 50, that would be 2.5 to 1. So I can do 2.5 to 1. So I'll put a 20. This is a, what is this? I think this is, this is a 55. Yeah, so to get a 50 on, I'd have to get closer here. And I don't know if that'll get me close enough. So my gear ratio is now 20 by 55. So in the end, I can turn a bigger prop. This boat will run just fine with a 29mm prop. I've done it before. In fact, let me let me get on the case of one of my viewers. One of my viewers is Kobe from J&R Marine here in California. And Kobe has one of these as well. And I want to see Kobe run it. You have one of these, Kobe. Let's see it go. Anyway, until next time, jet out.